So tell us about your the Mahabharata within workshops.
Well, the workshops happen through this learning that I just spoke about, where we worked, we worked a lot with understanding the deeper meanings of myth and the
Mm,
deeper meanings of the Purana.
mm, mm,
Mahabharata is a fabulous story, which
mm.
actually is a story of that's what's happening inside each of us.
Yeah.
And the Pandavas and the Kauravas are all inside us.
Mm.
And like I said, the Kurukshetra is raging inside our own hearts.
Yes.
And there's a Chirharan happening all the time.
Mm.
Whenever I make an adharmic choice, um, a
Yes, I
a-
mean,
you
it's
know,
like Chirharan, isn't it?
yeah, there's a Vastraharan,
Oh,
the Chirharan is happening all the time.
mm,
My inner Dushasana is violating boundaries, of my own inner Draupadi, so to speak, all the time.
mm,
Every time I make an unhealthy or an adharmic choice,
mm.
this is happening right inside.
You are in shock and amazement. You are in absolute wonderment. And guess what you do? You look around again. And of course, it's your lucky day. There is this jute sack. This large jute sack placed just for you. You hurry over, take that sack, and you shovel the stones in. Yeah, you fill it up. You're like, I'm gonna buy that private jet.
Today's guest, Naveen Vasudev, talks about discovering one's livelihood for oneself rather than leaving it to others. Over the past 15 years, Naveen has been engaged with questions like what does it mean to live responsibly and meaningfully in today's times? What does it mean to be the change you want to see in the world? In doing what I am doing, what am I really doing? How may I offer the best of myself to the whole? These are questions that Naveen attempts to trigger in diverse groups of people across the country in a playful manner in his workshops. And these questions are what many of us are also asking. Naveen's interests include evolutionary leadership, integral psychology, and process work. You have a listen? Hello, hello! Welcome, guys, to the podcast Theatre of Joy. Today we have Naveen Vasudevan. Naveen has had a very, very, very interesting life, and he has all I'm going to say now is that he has the skills of an entrepreneur and is also a change maker. He works with change makers, and really looking forward to uh, talking with him because this is going to be interesting. This is the new world. I'm used to, okay, chain makers, okay, who are muddling along, but a chain maker who has the skills of an entrepreneur and who actually works with young chain makers who are entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, it's a very, very exciting prospect. So, Naveen,
Thank
tell.
you. Thank you, Harleenji, for such a lovely introduction. I'm honored to be here and looking forward to the conversation. Thanks for having me on this
I'm
podcast. Yeah.
honored that you sort of came by and
Hmm.
we can talk.
Wow.
Great, great. Um, so, tell us about that time
Hmm.
when you were a young person
Hmm.
with a lot of skills and some resources,
Hmm.
like a lot of young people do not have in India,
Hmm.
and you were going to choose your livelihood the
Yeah.
way you would.
Sure, Harleenji. Wow. Okay. Thank you.
Mm,
Well, I think I'll go back to time in college. I think. I mean, I studied engineering,
mm,
like many people of my age and my context did.
mm.
And in engineering school, um, there were questions on what next, as I was coming closer to my graduation.
Ah,
And at that point, I wanted to do something that had also a social relevance to it
mm,
and an implication to it rather than
mm,
just pure technology. And I was interested in policy, social policy, and
mm,
environmental issues. This was around 2004. I think the consciousness of environmental sustainability and um, um, you know the kind of pollution and ecological issues were sort of beginning to get more awareness, and I want to do something in that field.
So
You
that
know,
was in what year?
2004 or 2002 to 2004,
Yeah.
as I was coming closer to my graduation. The last 2 years, I really wanted to move away from technology and look at what's happening to society and ecology, and what would be a meaningful way to intervene, and what would be a way to earn right livelihood that doesn't extract from the earth more, but kind of brings in more healing to our to society. That's really, in a sense, what it started off. It started off as a quest. So I think the resources, I mean, actually the resources that I think I'd like to really name, and the privileges that I like to really name at that point, is I think I had the right friends and the right mentors, in some sense, who put the right questions into me. And also internet was also just beginning to
Yes.
come into our lives a lot more, so I could read a lot more about issues around ecology, pollution, loss of traditional knowledge, globalization, so it really opened my eyes to a whole lot of what's happening in the world. And as a young person, I was not even 20 at that point. I was 18, 19. As I was entering to my late teens, it really opened up the horizons of the world for me. And I think so. What I really like to celebrate and name, and I'm grateful for, are the right kind of friends, the right kind of mentors who I think inspired me with their own life, and put the right questions in terms of a search on how can I learn to live my life in a way that doesn't create further violence,
Yes.
or at least try to reduce the kind of violence one inflicts on the earth, and walk a little bit more softly. So that's the quest that began then, and I would like, yeah, it's still on. I have had some answers, some questions are still unanswered, and but the journey's been very beautiful and enriching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually, it was during that time where a lot of young people, some young people who had been pushed into, well, some young people who had been pushed into um, engineering, or not doctoring so much as engineering. Okay. What? Okay. So that was a time when some young people who had been pushed by their parents into engineering
Yeah.
actually chose to lead lives different than what maybe their parents had envisaged.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, there
Yes.
are some very famous examples also, and you did the same.
Sure, Hadiji. I mean, with my case, my parents, I lost my father young, so it was just my mother. So she didn't. She was actually very fine with whatever I chose, but I chose engineering myself because I felt a sense of responsibility that I need to take care of family. And my mother was working, and she's working very hard to bring us up. So I wanted to shoulder the responsibility of the family. And engineering for many South Indian kids is the way to go.
Yes.
And it gives you a good job, and it gives you a good salary, and of course there are prospects of going abroad. So I was very geared towards that whole routine. So I willingly chose it, and I was a good, so-called good student, meaning my academics was good. So I felt like this is something that I can do, and I'll support my mom. But once I got into engineering school, larger questions than just my own family started to emerge. Until then, it was just about supporting mom, supporting my brother, being, a responsible and a good son and a good member of the family. That's what got me to engineering school. And I liked math, physics. I was strong in science, so it kind of aligned with my strengths academically. But once I got to engineering school, is the first time I think I met people from around the country. So this was a school which had people from various parts of India.
So IIT somewhere?
No, this is called Vellore Institute of Technology, VIT. And it was just opening up at that point. It's become much more popular now. It was just opening up at that point, and we had friends, we had fellow students from around the country and maybe in other parts of the world. So it opened my world to a diversity of looking at things, diversity of perspectives, people, backgrounds, and that opened my eyes. And I met a lot of very interesting people who I wouldn't have otherwise met, classmates, seniors, juniors, and that again, like with internet just coming in, the knowledge horizon opened up, and along with it, what's happening to the world, and and the larger questions that, the larger issues that are facing us, as a species, as a country, as a society, all of that started becoming clearer, and I'm really grateful for those opportunities, but and then engineering seemed like a small pursuit in terms of the large or in the face of the larger challenges. I felt like policy making or activism or some of that had more meaning in how to create impact in the world. So I started leaving engineering behind and looking at maybe policy making, governance, some of those issues more. So I ended up talking my way into becoming an environmental engineer in a company. I could, while I had already encountered perspectives that had a real critique of capitalism and the growth economy, I could not walk away from capitalism completely, because, like I said, there were financial needs in the family, and I wanted to make sure I contributed to some of that. So I took up a job as an environmental engineer, though I'm not qualified for it. I was able to respond to the questions that were asked. So I worked as an environmental engineer for a couple of years in a large automobile manufacturer,
Oh, interesting.
and it gave me a chance to see what we call the corporate greenwash from very close.
Yes, greenwash.
Yeah, the corporate greenwash.
Would you explain that term for us?
Well, there are two ways of looking at it. One is, of course, companies just want to look green, while they may not actually be that green.
Yes, yes.
And there are various ways of dressing that up and appearing green and putting out the impression that we're a green company, while we're actually not that green, whatever that means.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of what can I say? There's
Greenwashing.
There's a lot of greenwashing, or there's a lot of dishonesty there, if I can just call it what it is,
Yes.
in appearing green. Yeah. So many companies did that. I'm sure it's still happening, and I could see some of that from up close within my own company and the ones I could see around. And there's also, even if somebody wants to be genuinely, if a company genuinely wants to go green, look at some processes that are more eco-friendly. For example, we saw that it could raise the product cost. And in a competitive market, your competitor is not doing that, and which means your product, though it's a bit more sustainable, bit more, not a lot, it would still, and it will cost a lot more, and the customer is not interested in paying for a greener truck or a car or whatever, and then we lose in the marketplace.
The time hadn't come.
Exactly, and I hope it's come at least now, but it's still we're still catching up. So even if people want to do a good job in terms of what we create, it's going to cost more, and we're going to lose out on the market, which we were losing out in the market for trying to be more labor friendly, trying to be more earth friendly, while our competitors weren't doing. And globalization was just opening up so a lot of these foreign
and liberalization.
Exactly, right? And then a lot of these foreign automobile companies are coming in, and the competition was intense. And so the whole system is basically set up in such a way that even if one person wanted to change or one company wanted to change, they're going to be at a disadvantage. So it's a race to the bottom. And so when I could see that from up close, I felt like, what am I doing here? Then I had to step out and really try to see if I can be a part of the solution in some way.
That was courageous of you.
You could say that, but thanks to friends again who already walked the path before and mentors who done this before, it didn't feel that scary. While it was a difficult choice to make, my family wasn't necessarily completely on board with this choice. It felt right to do it, and I'm glad I did it. Yeah. So this is after a couple of years of work.
So where did that lead you then?
Wow.
Changing
Okay.
your choice.
Well, yes, I think it just left me with a lot of questions. Now I know what I don't want and what I don't want to be a part of. But then how do I earn a livelihood?
Yeah.
Especially if my mom is still working
Yeah.
and supporting us. I'm hardly 24. I'm 23. In fact, I was 23 when I quit.
Oh.
So at such a young age, and I have a lot of again, I had good skills. Maybe not enough, but I was fairly competent in some ways, not in a lot of ways, but in some ways. I had good marks. My subject knowledge was fairly good. I had good job offers and continue to receive them. But here I am, left all that behind and not earning enough or hardly earning with the big questions of life. Who am I? Where am I? Why am I here? What is right livelihood? And seemingly whiling away my time philosophically while my mother is still earning, So it left me with a lot of dharam sankat. And it was difficult. And I traveled around the country, met a lot of interesting organizations, including, friends like you, mentors like you, and friends like Sukhmani, Gyan, and so many other people, right? It um, what it gave me was a lot of life experience and also opportunities to be a part of interesting experiments and organizations around the country, from where I learned a lot about grassroots realities, about alternative ways of looking at life, apart from what the mainstream offers, which is largely some kind of a rat race where you race to the top,
Yeah. And you spend your time doing that.
I spend my time traveling, meeting people,
No,
volunteering.
you spend your time in the rat race.
Yes, I could see some of
And a
that
whole
very
lifetime
clearly.
just goes.
Yes, and so I think what I again got lucky with, or life has been very kind, is I got to see a lot of wonderful examples of people who had already walked the path less taken
Yes.
and really lived in alignment with their values. And so I had a lot of examples to be inspired by, including you and Chaniji and a whole lot of other friends, people like Manish, Shilpa, and there's a long list. Aviram, these are people who have deeply inspired me over the years. Nitinji, so it's a long list, but what it really showed me was it's possible, and people have done that. And not just this generation. I know I was in touch with Anantu and Jyoti ji at Navdarshanam, who were from an even earlier generation.
They're legends.
And they were very kind. Because I used to work near Bangalore, I would go to Navdarshanam very regularly, and I saw a whole community of elders who were even elderly to you all, and so I could see generations of people who had walked the path less taken, and were deeply content.
And what amazing people.
What lovely people, and
So grateful for having all of them, some of them in my life.
Indeed.
And so you never did want to choose back.
Jinai, that was very clear that because I saw many of you, all of you very content, or many of you very content, and and rich in multiple ways, not just financially. Some of them are not necessarily rich in financials, but they're deeply content and they're in touch with multiple other forms of wealth.
Yes, I will say that.
Yeah,
The other side is at least you get content.
Yes, and their hearts were so open.
A lot of joy.
A lot of joy. The hearts were so open, and they were so kind and so generous with their offering.
Yeah, I remember my time in Navdarshanam.
Yeah, and not just Navdarshanam. I mean, multiple spaces, including your house, for example. I still crack up with this name Chipku movement. That you used when I came in many years ago as a young person. You said this we believe in the Chipko movement.
Yes, please tell that to the audience, because
The
it's never
Chipko
come up
movement.
earlier on the podcast.
I was quite amused, but also very inspired. Your doors.
Chipko moment is
Mhm.
that, there are some people who chipko to some people, and the like our house was always open for the people who wanted to chippo, and we also wanted to chippo some people. So we all had it was like a couch surfing, but
Yeah,
much more
couch
interesting
surfing
one.
from much earlier.
Much more interesting
Yeah,
one.
and what touched me is you said the doors of this house are always open for young seekers,
Yeah.
for them to come, spend some time, and then move on.
Mhm.
But the doors are open. There's always a couch. There's
Yes.
always a meal. There's always a warm meal.
Yes.
And warm friends to receive young seekers. So it's really touched me,
Mm.
and so much kindness, so much generosity, so much abundance.
Yeah, but
You know?
kindness is there for people who are looking for it also.
Sure.
It's the other thing.
Sure.
You can be kind, but people don't want it. But there are
sh-
kindness. There are people who can be kind and who can alternate sometimes as people who are seeking kindness.
Sure.
And that just heals the world. It's a
Beautiful,
better world.
beautiful. So I found a lot of such abundance
Yeah.
on this path,
Yeah.
and so I think I just received a lot of abundance from people,
How wonderful.
and perhaps it's time to give back now.
Yeah.
But
but just let me just pause there, and a young person who doesn't want to go the trodden path, who's only 24, and of course, as you went on, I think it's a very mushy kind of a story who finds people who have his back, and who finds alternative ways of being than what he thought would be right for his life.
Sure,
That's an
sure.
amazing story.
Yeah, life was also full of intense challenges.
Yes.
I've named what helped me,
Hmm.
but there were a lot of hurdles too, which again I
So
think.
tell us.
Well, just the fact that how do you make a living in today's times, where you don't want to compromise on deep values?
Yeah.
And where I think I got stuck with was I was working with a lot of activist friends, and I was also interested in a lot of spirituality. Kind of these two came to me fairly early, and I could notice a lot of my activist friends were very concerned with outer change, but we were recreating the same violence we're seeing outside in our own personal lives or in our own organizations, and so we weren't looking at inner transformation as much.
Yeah.
While a lot of my so-called spiritual friends were very interested in spirituality, but cut off from social reality and didn't seem as interested in what was happening in society. And for me, neither of this was complete enough. So I was searching for something that can bring the two together, inner and outer change, inner transformation and social transformation. There, I do not see as many young people who or other friends who wanted to bring the two together. And so I felt quite stuck in what's the kind of work I'll do. Because just this or just that is not speaking to me. But trying to bring the two together, there weren't necessarily as many examples, or I didn't understand it so much, or there were multiple hurdles, and I got stuck, and I didn't know what to do. So thankfully, it required other mentors to step in later on in life to help me sort of open up certain paths and discover new possibilities there.
Tell us about one.
Well, one of the main influences in my life is definitely my mentor called Raghu Anantanarayanan, who I kind of met much later in life, around 30 years of age. So from 24 to 30, I have been traveling, I've been working and volunteering and doing different things. But slowly this realization is dawning that the work I like to do has to be a combination of inner and outer transformation. It can't just be one or the other. And there I was not able to take too many steps forward, because for the lack of examples, perhaps for the lack of fellow travelers, for the lack of clarity within myself of what this means, and sort of self-doubt. Am I the one that's wrong? Why aren't other people looking at this the same way? Am I wrong in some way, or are they missing something? A lot of self-doubt. So I kind of got stuck for a few years in not being able to take the next step. And so when I met Raghu and Sashi, his partner, to me it felt like they were fellow travelers who had already walked this path 30, 40 years ahead of
Oh,
me.
wow. That was
So,
lucky.
life has been very kind that way. I think at the right time, it is always, as much the challenge as it's been, it's also shown me, it's also opened the right doors. So that way I've been very lucky or very blessed. So after a few years of just feeling stuck, somebody sent me to Raghu, and I felt like he really understood me, and I felt really seen and understood in terms of the challenge,
Which must have been hard to come by.
which was hard to come by at that time, but it was. I'm glad it came when it did, and he helped us sort of see inward a lot more, and he is he wears many hats. He's a yoga teacher, and I mean that doesn't really capture what he does. An author, managing consultant. He's many things. I'm not doing justice to what he is really, in my description currently. But more than anything, he's been an esteemed mentor, and somebody's walked this path before. And so, me and many other friends used to go to him and Sashi, his partner, regularly, and we were almost, in a sense, shown what it means to work with ourselves, and then also look at being in the world in a way that's more healing and more empowering of others, other seekers. So that, in a sense, became my journey over the last 10, 12 years now, where we look at what does it mean to be the change you want to see, and it's a journey. It's an ongoing journey. But how can we also support others to be on the same journey? So I don't know if it kind of captures.
No, it beautifully. Because I'm sure a lot of young people then and even now are struggling with this choice. And the whole world around you is telling you that no, you can either do one or the other. And your story tells me that you have to be really persistent and really seeking something beyond what this reality has to offer us.
Yeah.
And which maybe now at least you can count off many people in the world who have managed to bridge the two
Sure.
things.
Sure.
But at that time it must have been really scary, and although the internet must have helped.
Well, not. I mean, thankfully, I discovered more than the internet. Human beings
Yes,
who were
yes,
inspiring.
yes.
Yeah, it was scary, but like I said, persistence is the word probably. If if one is very committed to one's own journey and one's own values, then I think you stay the course. For me, for a long time, this is probably a good time to talk about the Mahabharata too. For me, for a long time, Abhimanyu was my favorite character.
Yes.
Because and now I see that there's a reason why. Because I think I had entered the Chakravyuh, meaning I made the choices I made,
Difficult.
and said I will come out alive. I mean, I will come out dead if I need to, but I won't exit it. Like I won't leave. I will come out on the other side that is successful, or I'll die trying. Like which was not such a conscious effort, but somewhere deep down I had told myself, "Okay, वापस नहीं जाएंगे. I won't go back. Either I'll come out successful on the other side, which means I'll crack this puzzle of how can I live in this world in a meaningful way, without necessarily deeply compromising on my values, or I'll die trying. But I won't go back to make some compromises." So Abhimanyu is not my favorite character anymore, but for a long time in my life, that was the character, because psychologically I think I was in such a space where I will enter, and either I'll come out or I'll die, trying. So I think that, and life, I think, honors such persistence.
Yes.
And life sends you the right support, when people, I think, are have such a kind of commitment to their own journey, perhaps. So again, life is very kind.
And a desire to seek for more clarity
Sure.
than just go into what will people say.
Yes.
I think a lot of people who actually choose themselves out of what will people say to another kind of what will people say,
Mm-hmm.
and keep sort of judging or putting even why did I go here? But even people who actually make the choice, and then there's no one to help them.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
there are people to put them down, and
Yes, the world does offer you a lot of judgments,
yes,
which again is a part of the growing up process.
yeah,
A lot of my loved ones weren't very happy with choices I made,
hmm,
but now I realize that it helped me grow in my own conviction, because a lot of their concerns and their challenges and judgments are coming from a sense of love
yeah,
and a sense of care.
hmm,
Just that they expressed it differently from how I liked it.
yeah,
But that said, I had to find my own conviction,
yeah,
and the more I lived with my conviction, they could step back and say, okay, he seems to be he seems to be having some clarity or some he seems to be in control,
yeah,
though it's a path off the track,
hmm,
off the beaten track. Maybe we should just let him be and learn to trust in his own abilities. So the more I found my conviction and yet kept communication alive with them rather than shut it down, I think they learned to step back more and more and allowed me my space to be.
yeah.
So
So you did not automatically choose the victim space, like many young people, get butt code.
I had my phase of
Uh,
that too, but then
exactly.
eventually one has to grow out of that.
One has
Yeah,
to go out of
yeah.
that. So where did you land after that?
Well, I just mentioned this engagement with Raghu and Sashi, and
Ah.
we were a community of friends with similar questions, and so over time we kind of worked with various inner work processes based on the Mahabharata, the Yoga Sutras, and other Indian um, psychology, other forms of
And
Indian
you did not
psychology.
automatically feel yourself against all those spaces because, you know, that's what many of us.
Yeah, no, I did not feel against those spaces, because I have had a deep respect for Indian knowledge systems, and I know it takes a lot of political color today, but I knew, because I was inspired by Gandhiji a lot. I was inspired by Ramana Maharishi and Sri Aurobindo, and so I've already been reading quite a bit,
Yeah.
So I had a lot of respect for Indian knowledge systems. Just that I did not find maybe authentic sources or teachers who I could learn from. And so here, you know, I felt very inspired, because I think Raghu and Sashi also had a critique of modernity and what's happening in the world. And so it's a politics that I could resonate with. And so I think I had less resistance towards the knowledge and the whatever else they were offering.
Yeah, the
So
possibilities there. Yeah.
so I was, I think, more open to receiving it
Yeah,
from them
and
than
did
from
not
others.
throw the baby with the bathwater
Exactly.
in the name of secularism.
Sure, any of that stuff, exactly. And and their own understanding of modernity and what we're going through currently and colonization and all that quite resonated with me. So in other species it hasn't. So maybe I was more resistant, but with them it did resonate, and hence I was more open to receiving the other knowledge and wisdom that they were offering to all of us.
Which is the wealth of knowledge.
Absolutely,
out
absolutely.
there.
We're very blessed to live in this country with
Yes,
such depth and
yes,
such.
yes.
And so the journey began with that,
Yeah,
studying
so you went deeper
into the Mahabharata and the Mahabharata within. How every heart, in every heart, I feel there's a Kurukshetra raging. And how do we learn to recognize that? How do we learn to transform that and discover the Dharma Kshetra, where our energies are more in alignment and not like dissipating in conflict. So that's the kind of process.
Dharma Kshetra.
Dharma Kshetra, which basically, as I understand it, means there's a certain state of alignment of inner energies and with outer context. And so I experience a certain sense of ease and a sense of flow and a sense of
Yeah, I think
unity and
the
clarity.
context kind of screws it up. Without a context is a very good space to be in.
We all exist in a context all the time, but how do I learn to align myself with the needs of the context in a way that honors my own needs and my own values and capacities and talents with what the context needs. And I think we live in times today where there is multiple crises that are converging in terms of ecology, in terms of war, in terms of economic inequity, in terms of mental health, in terms of health. So in so many ways, we seem to be life seems to be getting more and more bleak, and human survival might be at question at this rate, and a lot more polarization, a lot more conflict. Now, how do we learn? How do we show up in this world in a way that makes it a better place?
Yeah, and I
You know?
feel the whole process, we get stuck in some kind of prisons.
Yes, inner prisons first,
Inner prisons,
and then outer
like
prisons and echo
victimhood,
chambers.
like
Yes.
mental health and all
Yes.
those kinds.
Yeah. How do I learn to recognize the inner prisons, the inner conflicts, which are then now showing up as outer conflicts too?
Yes.
And then learn to transform those inner prisons and break free, and also look at these outer inner conflicts and learn to transform them, so that one can show up as an agent of change outside. If my own inner conflict and inner Kurukshetra is raging,
Yeah.
what do I bring to the context anyway? Apart from my own brokenness and my own fragmentation.
Yeah.
So it's not linear. It's a process. It's a dynamic process. It's a spiral of unfoldment, as I understand it. But can I be on the path of healing my own inner brokenness and bring those gifts of healing back to the context?
Oh wow. That's
And
wonderfully
and we heal together. I feel we don't heal alone. We heal
Yes.
together.
Yes.
And it's an unfolding spiral. So I think that's the journey that I think I'm on now, and it's an ongoing process. Yeah.
So tell us about your the Mahabharata Within workshops.
Well, the workshops happen through this learning that I just spoke about, where we worked. We worked a lot with understanding the deeper meanings of myth and the deeper meanings of the Purana. Mahabharata is a fabulous story, which actually is a story of that's what's happening inside each of us.
Yeah.
And the Pandavas and the Kauravas are all inside us. And like I said, the Kurukshetra is raging inside our own hearts. And, there's a Chirharan happening all the time. Whenever I make an adharmic choice,
Yes, I mean, it's like Chirharan, isn't it?
yeah, there's a Vastraharan, the Chirharan is happening all the time. My the Shasana is violating boundaries, of my own inner Draupadi, so to speak, all the time. Every time I make an unhealthy or an adharmic choice, this is happening right inside, right? And I'm gambling away my future, just like Yudhishthira did. And I'm gambling away. We are collectively gambling away our own future, as a species on this planet. So there's a lot of parallels. So the Purana and the mythology, a myth has deep inner meanings, and they're not just stories out there. They're realities in the here and now, right now. And so, how do we recognize this unfolding Mahabharata inside us and learn to transform it? This helped me a lot. This kind of work helped me a lot to discover my own inner conflicts and start looking at them. And so, at some point, I felt like I needed to take it out to other people, especially young change makers, especially young people with deep questions and dharam sankats, similar to the kind of struggles that I was going through. Because this helped me, I felt like I'd like to offer it to them, and maybe this could help them too. So
also
that's
in the
why.
larger context, I mean, it's really like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? We, we do not leave ourselves open for a lot of good that can happen in our lives just because of, some meta systems that we choose to work under.
Yeah, we often throw the baby out with the bathwater. So
Yes.
can we now reclaim?
Yes.
Instead of doing that, can we reclaim what is of absolutely brilliant and beautiful value in this country? And there's a
which
lot
has-
of it.
Which has been there in our,
Forever.
environment, in our homes.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
instead of becoming the, the discordant note,
Yeah.
let's create harmony.
Absolutely. And let's
walk into harmony.
Absolutely. And let's celebrate what there is and
Yes.
learn to build on it.
Yes.
So anyway, these workshops started off this way. And it's been a few years now, and every time I offer it, and it's grown. Started off as a 1 day workshop. Now it's become a 6 day process. I just finished my first 6 day workshop, or in whatever exploration. Now, the more I do it, it helps me feel in alignment with my own um, um, gifts, and I feel very much at home. And people keep coming back and sending their friends. So I'm assuming it has a meaning in their lives too. And in this process, I think I've discovered my livelihood,
Yeah.
which leaves me deeply content.
Yes.
And I offer this on gift. So it again feels like it's on a gift economy mode. So again, it feels like it's a way of paying forward
Yeah.
all the abundance that I've received.
But what I really love is that discovering your livelihood and not waiting for somebody to give it to you. Your parents giving you education, somebody giving you a job, the government giving you jobs, and you discover your own livelihood. How wonderful can that be?
Yeah, but with help from a lot of others, like you said,
That's
like I said,
okay. That's okay. But basically, you're doing the discovering, right?
fair enough. Yeah, the discovery has to be from oneself.
And it's so different than what a lot of young people are used to.
Yes, but thankfully, more and more examples of this kind can give them the courage and the confidence. It is possible. Like you all as examples gave me the courage and confidence. I'd like to pay that forward and say that I'm here to I'm here alive to tell the tale. And I think when we trust and take that first step, life opens up. Life reaches 10 steps towards us. And it helps us discover our livelihood in that sense. Yeah. Purpose, livelihood, meaning, they all come together.
Yeah, the term light worker has expanded for me.
How has
Because
it expanded?
although my heart shrinks and I won't say, no, we didn't really contribute like you took our name. But yeah, I now remember it lights up all the wonderful people that have contributed to,
Absolutely.
me and my choices. And whatever, even if you feel you haven't done enough and there could have been more, there is still that that light worker choice, which I'm sure your life is going to help young people in other generations.
That's the hope. That's the prayer. But I'll have to stay humble for that. And so, not easy. Yeah. So hopefully, with everybody's support, one can do that.
Your workshop sounds so exciting. I would love to do it myself.
Anytime. I mean, it'd be an honor to have you. Yeah.
It'll be really, amazing what you and where you're coming from and where you're journeyed from into this. But last question, tell me, why did you get off the Abhimanyu's track?
Well, it's a process of growth. I mean, to me, Abhimanyu eventually grows into an Arjuna. So it's a life stage. I don't feel so lost in the Chakravyuh anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm now navigating my way through fairly comfortably in life.
And actually, you could stay there. What's the problem?
Yes, it's just that life doesn't feel like a Chakravyuh anymore.
Yeah.
Earlier, situation was very bleak.
So
I had
Chakravyuh,
entered it, yes.
in other ways, Chakravyuh is the chaos.
Yes, and the lack of answers.
The
In a
lack
sense,
of
I had made
answers.
some choices. I had jumped in, but I couldn't see a way out. So
But-
life felt very bleak.
Yeah, you have found your way out.
But now
But
I feel
the
like I've-
Chakravyuh can still contribute.
Yes, just that the Chakravyuh is the life doesn't feel like a Chakravyuh anymore.
Yes.
It feels like a garden in some sense.
Oh wow. That's
uh,
wonderful.
Not just flowers and beautiful things, the thorns, the challenges. It's a bit of a wild garden, but I don't feel bleak about it anymore. Earlier, life felt very bleak. Okay, where death seemed to be the only answer,
Yeah.
and I could not see a way out. It was a dark room where I could not see the way out. But I wouldn't go back though. I wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
But now it doesn't feel like a dark room. It feels like a sunny morning, a sunny Sunday morning, so to speak. And life feels a lot more joyous, a lot more bird song.
Yes.
With a few small but nice little tracks that one can go on forest trails.
Yeah.
So So the outlook towards life has changed. So I don't feel like Abhimanyu so much anymore. But somebody who's now probably moved on from there and received the gifts and the joys of life, and perhaps is now needing to now offer it back and pay it forward.
I
So-
love that paying forward.
Pardon?
I love that paying forward.
Well, that's how we keep the baton passing, right? That's how we keep the inspiration going. So it's a responsibility more than anything. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Naveen.
Thank you,
Wow, what a
Harmanji.
conversation. I'm so grateful.
I'm honored. Thank you. Kind of you. As always, kind of you.
And thank you so
Thanks
much for
having me
giving
here.
your time.
Pleasure. Absolutely.
And I shall look forward to where you go from where you are now. Where, if you are anywhere.
It's absolutely. I
That is also
mean,
like
you will. I mean, every time I pass by Chandigarh, you will
Yes.
get an update. And
Yes.
it'll be an honor to me to continue this conversation.
yes.
Yeah. Thank you again.
Wonderful. Thank you
again.
so much.
Thank you.
Naveen.
Thank you.